You to rejoin us in the morning as we resume our regular telecasting schedule. Until then,
we wish you a pleasant good night.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to Nerds Without Dates. Annie and I are two nerds without dates here on Friday nights. Second one in a row. We will be talking about Futurama. Once again, we talked about the premiere episodes last week. This week, we are getting character specific with Cubert, a character introduced in the second season, third season. It gets weird with the episode numberings. Some number it different. And I believe next week we will get to Hermes. That's one that Annie, particularly when I was throwing out B characters, wanted to do Hermes. So I think we'll get to a new show soon after that. But Cubert this week, Hermes next week. And what did you think about this batch of episodes, Annie?
Hey Dylan, thanks for having me. I thought that these episodes in particular were pretty good. Two of these episodes were among my most memorable episodes, the near Death Star episode and the one where Farnsworth kind of makes his own robot world. And both of those happen to be Cubert B plot centric episodes. So I got to pull clips for Cubert while watching an episode I really enjoyed.
What's really funny is the 2 out of the 4 Cubert episodes, he falls into the B plot. It looks like he's going to be the A plot in one of these until Bender takes over. And that's what happens again, actually, with one of Hermes' episodes in next week, which I thought it was an all Hermes episode. But Bender ends up taking over. It's named after Bender. Bender is great. What can we say? He really takes over the episode when you put him in there. And
that is also with the episode is Bender shouldn't be allowed on television, which Bender takes over basically the whole episode because it's about him being on all my circuits.
But before we get to that, we have the introduction of Cubert, the clone of Professor Farnsworth. I don't think we made it clear last week that the Professor Farnsworth is the nephew of Philip J. Fry. Great, many times over. And he needs someone to take over for him. Well, first, I do like how it starts off. There is a surprise party for the professor at the college, and they get him there under false pretenses of a disciplinary committee. So
right.
He comes there very surly, and no, we're celebrating you, sir.
And it's great because he gets in there and he's angry as hell because he thinks he's, going in on a disciplinary charge. So he immediately starts ratting on all of the deans of the college and revealing some of their secrets. And they're like, we're just here for a party, man.
Wernstrom, his enemy of many episodes, Wernstrom. This is a callback to his first crew. Not a running joke, basically, of how his crews end up. We saw the ones that Fry, Leela, and Bender replaced are inside the stomach of a space wasp. And we get to hear from someone else who was a crew member here at this party.
Of all the former crew members of the Professor's delivery ship, our next speaker is by far the most alive. Captain Muskie?
getting a much warmer response than Zoidberg got. Of course, a Star Trek original series reference there of how to communicate. The most alive crew member is Muskie there, unfortunately.
And we don't ever get a reason of what happens to him or anything like that. He's kind of like a one note just joke right there, just to kind of stiff Zoidberg, who's supposed to be a comedian or wants to be anyway.
He wanted to be a comedian for so long, never quite made it. And another running gag that they have here is Leela helping Fry out. Fry was asked to make a video, but he is very reckless. So here he's giving us his explanation of how the video got made.
When I was first asked to make a film about my nephew, Professor Farnsworth, I thought, why should I? Then
That's
later,
relatable.
Leela made the film. But if I had made the film, you can bet there would have been more topless women on motorcycles. Roll film.
I like how Farnsworth is like, ooh, that would have been nice.
You should have made it, Fry. It wouldn't have gotten done if Fry would have done it. So that's why Leela, once again, showing that she is the responsible one in the relationship. Sometimes Fry is just a bit too reckless for everyone's taste. And in that film, I have a little section of the glorious life of a scientist, also packed. A little throwaway joke. I'm sure the Space Wasp was just a throwaway joke, which became quite important. And here,
Farnsworth
a bit of a life of a scientist, once again packed with things that will become very important later on.
Farnsworth settled into
The
the
show does a great
glamorous
job
life
of
a
setting up
scientist.
future things
Fast
and
cars,
revealing past setups.
trendy night spots, beautiful women. The professor designed them all, working out of his tiny one-room apartment. For 50 years, he worked at Mom's Friendly Robot Company, where he created the first robot capable of qualifying for a boat loan.
I love that gag. A boat loan of all things. And Mom and the professor, I don't know if they've gotten into their past at all at this point. I think they might have had an episode alluding to their past, but they really go down that rabbit hole.
Like you said, with how they split up the seasons, it's hard to remember when things happened. So unless we went through like an extensive episode list, I think this may be one of the earliest like references to Farnsworth really having a relationship with Mom. 50 years, it's a long time.
And right now, it's just the fact that he worked somewhere as a grunt in the factory. A little later, oh boy, did they have a heck of a steamy relationship, Mom and the professor. And it's fun that they notice little things like, all right, he was a grunt. Well, what if he wasn't just a grunt? What if they were hooking up? And we get a lot of that a little bit later on with just a throwaway gag. And there are things we've mentioned before. He had a lot of doomsday devices just hanging around. He's a crazy evil scientist, our good buddy Professor Farnsworth here. And you pulled a clip here of another. He thought this was a great idea, but a lot of people didn't.
They won't listen. Everyone's always in favor of saving Hitler's brain, but when you put it in the body of a great white shark, ooh, suddenly you've gone too far.
If I'm not mistaken, that's actually what they pranked him, saying that he was brought up on disciplinary charges for.
He's jumping to the conclusion, I think. Maybe it was in there. I think it was vague. Maybe it was alluded to that you put Hitler's brain in something. How could you do that? Well, it was hanging around. Why wouldn't I put it in a shark? And talking of things that will pay off later, you pulled another clip of Dr. Zoidberg being alluded to as the professor's oldest friend.
Here's the professor's oldest friend, a grotesque stinking lobster.
And it's interesting because he doesn't deny being friends with him, which most
ladies
people
and
do.
germs. That wasn't a joke. I was talking to Dean Streptococcus.
The old vaudeville joke, ladies and germs, where no, there really is a germ there, folks. I'm serious here. I want to say hello to my buddy. So the professor gets very depressed after this look into his life, in which he's like, I spent so many years just as a middleman at a robot factory, and he decides he needs a successor. He needs an heir, and they're discussing who it's going to be. We've got
And while they're discussing it, that he's mentioning some of his failed inventions, how he's done so many things and hasn't accomplished very much in his long life. And he brings up that he made a time machine that doesn't work. And then finally, Zoidberg does come in with a joke.
So many inventions, half invented. That damn time machine alone set me back 15 years.
If only it had worked, you could go back and not waste your time on it.
and I
Which
just
is-
love that wordplay with time. And once again,
This is
something they
interesting.
brought back.
Yeah, that time machine does come back. He fixes it up and makes it, disassembles it and rebuilds it to be his forward-only time machine. Which then again, he rebuilds once more and fixes it and puts in a transmission so he can go backwards in time, which is in the Hulu reboot.
One of the very good emotional episodes that they end up going forward in time and cannot go back. Keep going forward to try to find a technology to make a reverse time machine. Eventually, they do get it. Yeah, the Hulu season, he finally gets the time machine. Same design. They remembered this design and brought it back and just finished it up a bit.
While we're talking about it, it's just a nitpick, but in the episode where they can only go forward in time, they go so far forward in time that the universe starts over again. And whenever they get back to where they should be in time, the whole universe is like 6 feet lower. So they drop on top of their paradox clones and like kill them, just solving the paradox immediately. Whenever the Hulu reboot comes out and Farnsworth goes back in time, he misses his stop and goes all the way back into that first universe where he had jumped out of all the way back in time. But the thing that didn't stay the same is the height difference. He was on the same height immediately. Now, it could be that it's just wrote off and his time machine is able to correct itself with the height now. Or it's just that the writers forgot about it being a decade ago.
I actually didn't pick up on that he did indeed go all the way back to that universe that's missing a professor. That's fun that they're able to fill in those little blanks. And there's a lot of discussion of who will be his successor now that he's depressed, now that the professor doesn't want to do this anymore. And he's... Here we have Hermes suggesting a limbo contest. Hermes is a limbo Olympian, as we will see in the Hermes episodes. So, of course, this will be decided by limbo.
Down, one come up.
Look, Professor has a giant spaceship.
Trash
He
can.
wouldn't trust the rest of
Yeah, let's take care of him. His idea is obviously stupid. I'm in charge of the spaceship. What are you guys in charge of?
me with a giant spaceship. He wouldn't trust the rest of you with his dentures.
Yeah, kind of like.
I love that joke because in a future scene, Fry's like, "I called dibs on his denture," and again, she still has him in her mouth. She's like, "You wish."
Yeah, I didn't pull that one, but that's a fun little callback. That she's keeping him safe right there in her mouth.
Keep him nice and moist for him.
We do get Cubert as the one who will be the professor's successor. The very funny narcissistic joke. The one who will replace me will be me, but younger, with my clone who, oh yeah, I've been working on for a while. I just kind of forgot about it until now, which is very common for the Professor Farnsworth to just fucking forget.
It's super convenient.
Living relative.
Oh, yeah.
My clone, Cubert Farnsworth.
We have the Frankenstein switch again there. They love the Frankenstein switch anytime that there's a resurrection.
It's a great callback. It's like a staple. You have to have it.
Yeah, if we're creating life out of nothing, why wouldn't we have the Frankenstein switch? He upgraded it, obviously, in the Comedy Central years, where it was a light switch now.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently it was just a big electricity output in the other episode.
It's just to wake him up. It's the wake him up switch. Whenever Farnsworth isn't feeling peppy enough, he just goes in there, pulls that switch, gets a quick. and he's ready to work.
A bit of a shock. Give me that. My pacemaker isn't pacemaking well enough.
Wait, if he's your clone, why doesn't his nose look like yours?
I left him in his first tube too long and he got squished up against the side.
I love how that's just the reason that his nose looks like that.
And I'm sure they wanted to make the design different so it isn't too similar. And we've already got Fry and this professor who would probably look like a even younger version of Fry.
Yeah,
So,
both of them have like the long faces. So Cubert has like a tall face, and then he's just got this squished nose.
and that's a fun way to go about it. We needed a different character design so we don't have so many people looking exactly this way. He got smushed up on his original test tube. My bad.
And it does fit with Farnsworth's character, just being like a little bit forgetful and a little bit like short-minded on that, being like, oh, I just left it in there for a day or two too long.
And he does come out as a fully formed preteen. He knows the language. He has got the attitude of a preteen.
Well, we didn't pull the clip, and we referenced it just barely. But Farnsworth started this project like 13 years ago, so he probably was a baby at some point if he would have pulled him out sooner. But he, like you said, he just forgot about it, and so now he's 13 years old. The first time he's going to come out of this tube.
Yeah, we don't know how long he forgot about it. It might have been once he switched
Well, he's actually
to
12
that
at this
tube.
point. That's a correction.
Okay,
I'm sorry. He's 12.
12 years old. Preteen, 12 years old is Cubert, and very much like a 12-year-old. You pulled some clips of him just being a douche nozzle of a 12-year-old.
Cubert, come in here. I have something amazing to show you.
What is it? A competent employee? I doubt that very much.
My universal translator. Unfortunately, so far it only translates into an incomprehensible dead language.
Hello.
Bonjour.
Crazy gibberish.
And at the very end of that clip, you can see how fed up Cubert is with Farnsworth trying to show him all of his stupid things. Because Farnsworth does invent a whole lot of things. He's really good at doomsday devices. He has
the smelloscope, which
he
can't work. It's physically impossible. Cubert points it out. It's physically impossible that this cannot work, but it works because science and magic are kind of parallel sometimes here in
any
Futurama.
Sufficiently advanced science is indistinguishable from magic.
Oh, that is accurate. That is the classic quote. And you actually clipped around. I enjoyed this quote that the professor had. He has Cubert's life all mapped out for him.
As my successor, I'm trusting you to carry on my work. These are just some of the half-finished inventions you'll spend your life finishing.
I really want to get these done. I can't do it in my lifetime. Thank goodness you exist.
And you can do it vicariously for me. So thank you.
Thank you.
And that's a lot to be put on him, honestly. Like from Cubert's perspective, that is a lot to just be like, oh, you just want me to be this big scientist?
And
somebody in the chat asks, Ross Dog's Broken Spirit asks, is that young Fry? No, the character on screen is Cubert Farnsworth. He is Farnsworth clone. So the professor there clones himself because he wants a successor.
The Fry's even one more generation of nephew there. And you've got that fun clip of Cubert trying to dunk on Fry and then realizing he's dunking on himself as well.
Impossible. No one knows where they take those old geezers.
Nothing is impossible. You'd know that if you really took after the professor, like I do.
You're his uncle, dummy. He takes after you.
What?
Wait a second. That means I also take after you. Ah!
Oh shit! I'm a Fry. Yes, you are, sir. You are a Philip J. Fry, and he is a rebellious preteen. Like pretty much anyone, many people in that place. I don't want to be like you, Dad. I'm my own person, and he is his clone, but he's a 12-year-old kid who is his own person.
Look.
And here he is, giving him the speech of, "Come on, Dad."
Look, Professor, I may be identical to you in every possible way, but that doesn't mean I'm anything like you.
Yeah, what?
I don't
You know
want to
what?
be an inventor. I want to be something useful, like a teacher's aide, or a prison guard, or a science fiction cartoon writer.
But what about my hopes
pretty
and
self-aware.
my dreams and my wonderful inventions?
In your entire life, your only half-decent invention was me. And I didn't turn out like you wanted either.
And they do get a little emotional in this one. Nowhere near a highly emotional episode, but the bond developing between father and son, between clone and original, I guess
Right.
is how you'd put it.
All Farnsworth wants to do is, like inspire Cubert to be like him so he can carry on his life and feel like he actually accomplished something. Because he's disappointed with a lot of the things in his life, and a lot of his things have been taken away from him, like his accomplishments. The show later on reveals that Farnsworth is basically single-handedly responsible for all modern day robots, all sentient, walking, talking, doing whatever they want robots. Farnsworth is responsible for that, but Mom gets full credit for it. And meanwhile, Farnsworth is a essentially broken down nobody and has no accolades anymore, and is even a joke in his own community at the college.
He runs a shady delivery business where everyone is dead except for his current crew at all times.
Right.
Lucky for Muskie, he made it out mostly alive. And let's see, we have yes, him understanding. We have you put these two together of earlier in the episode and then later in the episode of Cubert just outright, I do not want any part of this. You are full of shit, you old man. And then being his clone, he comes to realize what all this is about. So here is Cubert initially like, this is nonsense. And then realizing there is some sense to this non.
These are the dark matter engines I invented. They allow my starship to travel between galaxies in mere hours.
That's impossible. You can't go faster than the speed of light.
Of course not. That's why scientists increased the speed of light in 2208.
Also impossible.
I'd like to know what they increased it to.
And Star Trek gets around this as well. If there's certain things, even in some in shows like Futurama, that goes very sciencey when necessary and goes just completely ludicrous, or Star Trek where they're really trying to explain all this science stuff. You just gotta give us some leeway in this faster than light speed. And please pay no attention that we have aged at the same rate. For those science nerds who know how aging works with going fast.
Time dilation, yeah.
Your explanations are pure weapons-grade balonium. It's all impossible.
Nothing is impossible. Not if you can imagine it. That's what being a scientist is all about.
No, that's what being a magical elf is all about. Nothing is impossible. I understand how the engines work now. It came to me in a dream. The engines don't move the ship at all. The ship stays where it is, and the engines move the universe around it.
That's a complete load.
Nothing's a complete load. Not if you can imagine it. That's what being a scientist is all about. Right, Professor?
And you have them saving the professor. He turns himself into basically the old police. He goes to the near Death Star because he's been lying about his age. At 160,
and once you're a certain age, they come and take you away and put you essentially in like forced retirement. The whole thing is both simultaneously a Star Wars and a Matrix reference, because they go to what is called the near Death Star.
They don't get into the Matrix episode in this one, but
no,
they get into the Matrix reference when they return to the near Death Star. And
well, they
really shit on the Matrix in that episode too. I love that one.
It's just a brief Matrix. They don't talk about it, but the fact that they're like all put in these little pods and then they pull them out of the drawer and they're all hooked up to life support and stuff. I don't know if you have any clips from inside the near Death Star.
I have.
He's hooked up to a...
Yeah, I have this one of them saving him from the near Death Star. And when they return and see the professor's parents there in the near Death Star, still hooked up to all those machines, they really get into the Matrix and absolutely shit on this is the stupidest concept ever. But believe it or not, it works to use humans for batteries. So here they are rescuing him from the near Death Star.
He's hooked up to a life support system. We have to disconnect him very, very carefully, or the shock could kill him.
Freeze!
He's dead. He's dead. We gotta go. And then a big chase scene. They often have the runaway scene. I believe it was an episode commentary I listened to where the writers were like, really, we have like 4 endings to a Futurama. The runaway, and then they list off the rest, and there's a lot of runaway endings, which this one turns out to be.
Which is nice. It ends up climactic. At the end of this episode, you did reference it. In the future, they come back to the near Death Star to visit Farnsworth's parents, who are apparently still alive. At the end of this episode, Farnsworth mentions that when he was hooked up to that, he was put in a horrible virtual reality where it was like living in a retirement home in Florida with a bunch of old people.
So they just made it the equivalent of what retirement would be. They haven't updated it at all, other than it's just virtual instead of physical in this future. And what we saw with your clip, but I do love. To me, this is an iconic line from the show of when the spaceship they looks like all is lost and they've taken down the spaceship and they're not going to be able to get out of here. I have this on my board. You've seen this clip before on co-host auditions.
They've blown out one of our engines. Fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it. Fix it, fix it, fix it. Only the professor knows how to fix it.
And then right after this, Cubert wakes up and fixes the engine because it came to him in a dream, just like it came to Farnsworth. And then he lost it in another dream.
But luckily, Cubert was able to put it into action before he forgot it in that second dream. And Cubert does decide that after going through that little adventure, the professor no longer depressed. Whoops. Where that is? It opened up somewhere, that clip. Let's see if I can open it up on the screen this time. One of these days we'll be more of a semi-pro than an amateur.
Thank you all for saving me, especially you, my little clone. No matter what you decide to do with your life, I'm still proud of you.
I've already decided. Dad, when I grow up, I want to be just like you.
Oh, don't worry, son. You will.
So the nice little touching moment to bring it around. As a kid, I didn't like the Simpsons when they tried to be emotional. Maybe it's because I just started to enjoy storytelling more.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they do it better in Futurama, the emotional storytelling. That I can jump onto it. This wacky episode, this wacky space adventure of this clone and his dad. We'll go with is ending up as a happy story, happy-ish, because they're still going to have their old man and little kid problems.
Right, they're 10 generations apart.
And you pulled one more clip of Cubert just being him not being annoying, them getting back at Cubert a little bit.
Yeah, the whole time Bender is alluding to like beating Cubert and doing all these things to him. So finally he just gets fed up. Cubert makes fun of somebody and Bender just zap.
Before we get into the next episode, just going to say a quick hi to the chat. Thanks for joining Rochi, Ian Hawk. We've got a few familiar people in here. Welsh Salty. And we'll work on saying your name correctly instead of Welsh Sally. Thank you for joining us once again late night here. Is that pronounced umlaut? I've heard people say umlaut with O there. Thank you very much for joining us here on this episode of Nerds Without Dates as we check out Cubert episodes. New Girl in Town. Thank you for being the new girl in town. And I don't know if he wants me to do a crossover, that Joey C. fellow. He did not react well to my co-host audition with him. Radish Diff, I think I gave everyone a roll call. Thank you all for joining. Hope you enjoy the show as we work out the kinks on how to do a clip show as such. And there was really only one other Cubert-centric episode. The second episode we're getting into is the only one where he wasn't relegated to the background.
Right. This
And
one has a nice split between the main plot, which is, I believe, Bender brewing alcohol.
yeah, the B plot was definitely Bender brewing the alcohol, and the A plot was definitely having Cubert.
Cubert and Dwight, they get together to kind of be better friends and establish their relationship and eventually, start, running a business together.
Dwight being Hermes' son, and yeah, they have a good camaraderie here. So he does have some buddies. We were looking for
Dwight, you remember the crew?
Crew, you remember Cubert? Wonderful. Then I'm sure you won't mind being their legal guardians for a month.
I guess I should have
Farnsworth has
played.
a habit of abandoning Cubert.
And I wonder if Cubert was a network mandate, if they wanted a kid, but with the fact that Cubert has only been featured in 4 episodes prominently over all these seasons, I'm wondering if the network said we need a kid. We got a kid in these other cartoon shows. You need a kid. So I'm wondering if all right, we got to have a kid. Make
That's
it a
an
clone.
interesting. That's an interesting. I don't know what the word is. Theory.
Let's go with theory. That's my theory. Is that the network said we need a kid. We have a kid in The Simpsons. We have a kid in Family Guy. You don't have a kid. You need a kid. And they kind of skirt that by having a clone. I don't exactly know when Dwight is introduced. Maybe we'll get into that with the Hermes episodes.
I'm sure we'll get in. Yeah.
Him and Hermes and La Barbara have a child right around the same age as Cubert.
I cloned.
And they got in trouble in school. That is, they're hanging around at the Planet Express offices a lot in this episode because they got in trouble in school and they're being disciplined.
I cloned you from one of my warts, and I can send you straight back in there.
Nuh-uh.
What's going on? Is this angry yelling or busted hearing aid yelling?
I'm afraid it's both.
What?
And there's Zoidberg's line of the show.
What about Zoidberg? He turned out to be quite a favorite. He gets a few episodes. He actually got a little bit of an emotional episode in the last Comedy Central years. He like one actual plot of not just being a complete goofball. Zoidberg eventually got after 10 seasons.
Yeah. Are you referring to the episode where he falls in love with that girl who can't smell him?
Yes, it took someone who can't smell him to.
I think that's like the second or third to last episode. They finally gave Zoidberg a nice payoff.
I rewatched around those. There's one called Game of Tones in there. I thought that one fucking sucked. But the one with Zoidberg getting a girlfriend who can't smell, that was a fun little send-off for his character. And
so this clip that you have here, apparently Cubert was given like a digital report card, kind of a situation, like a video holotape of what happened. So he puts it in the VCR, and then I guess the CCTV of the classroom kind of shows what Cubert got in trouble for.
Luckily, the CCTV of the camera of the classroom has a lot of cameras on hand, just to suspend your belief a little bit.
You've compressed our lunches to a singularity for the last time. Salt him, Dwight.
When I re-solidify, I'm gonna put you in a world of goop.
See? That bully started it. We couldn't fight back with brawn, so we used our brains.
I warned you not to use those things.
Because his brain is very dangerous. That brain can create a whole lot of doomsday devices that just lie around.
Yeah, Farnsworth knows how powerful Cubert could be if he applied himself. So he's like, "Hey, hey, stop it! I'm not trying to cause a mini apocalypse. You just made a miniaturized black hole in the classroom, okay?"
Which appeared to be as regular as dissecting a frog, or even more so. I dissected one frog in all my school time. They do mention that was another black hole that they made. So they're doing that pretty regularly, making miniature black holes.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. The B plot, as we mentioned for this one, is Bender turns into a brewery. He's decided to make his own Bender brew, Bender Brow,
Right,
and
because at the beginning of the episode, they're at the convenience store. It's kind of like the cold open for the episode. They're at the convenience store trying to pick out a 6-pack, and they're all arguing over, oh, I want this kind, I want this kind, I want this kind. So I believe Leela suggests, why don't we just brew our own?
And Bender was like, "Why have I not thought of this? I can do this." He volunteered himself to be the brewery for their homemade beer.
We're making beer. I'm the brewery.
I heard alcohol makes you stupid.
No, doesn't.
Actually, Dwight, you're right. Alcohol is very, very bad for children. But once you turn 21, it becomes very, very good. So scram.
Ain't that the truth?
They're getting into a lot of mischief this week. They're just hanging out. They've just been abandoned by Farnsworth again, and he doesn't go anywhere. He just abandons them.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to be responsible for him, so he kind of just puts it on the crew. He's like, I'm paying you guys, so this is what you're going to do.
And we get into the plot of the episode. The professor has made another completely useless invention of a device that makes you sound exactly like him. I don't know why it kicked in the first time there before I brought it up, but here he is showing off the newest useless invention to Cubert.
Device that lets anyone sound exactly like me. Good news, everyone. I'm a horse's butt. I am. That's not good news at all, you little... I have an important delivery for you and your dumb crew. You must deliver a pizza to Dog Do 8, a planet at the edge of the universe. Sorry I can't come down to say goodbye, but I'm busy inventing useless junk. And I smell bad.
Both
so this
accurate.
is yet another example of Cubert playing pranks on people, and it's kind of like one of the core aspects of his character. He uses humor and other people's misfortune to make himself feel better for his own personal shortcomings, which he does reference way later on.
Yeah, very mischievous. And here we see the end of that phony delivery. Fry, 1,000 years in the future, is still getting phony deliveries. Icy Wiener is the first thing that happens to him on New Year's Eve of going where no one is. And here he's very upset getting back from trying to deliver a package to Dog Do 8.
Those pork dumplings sent us on a fake pizza delivery.
The address was on Dog Do 8, but the universe ends right after Dog Do 7.
So Dog Do is a constellation there at the edge of the universe, and we do have our buddy Cubert attempting to try to get the heat off of himself by pointing out what the rest of the crew is doing wrong.
Plus, they're making bootleg beer inside company property.
Lies! Lies and slander!
Accusing Gentle Bender of a misdeed?
Now you've gone too far.
And of course, the next Cubert episode we will be talking about, it's all about Bender being Bender's misdeeds happening all the time. If only he had said libel and slander, we could have dropped that into many Dabbleverse shows. Lies and slander, that Gentle Bender would do anything out of the sort.
So as a punishment for doing this prank on the crew, Hermes and Farnsworth force Cubert and Dwight to get a job, which is like the hardest thing they can do to them. So Dwight and Cubert end up starting their own business.
Cubert makes a business. There it is. And this is another very fun. I've seen this clip with badly photoshopped faces on top of it. An absolute fun gag of two dads learning that their sons have created a business that's actually competing with theirs.
Shuffle faster! You don't want to miss the unveiling of our
Shuffle
new company,
faster.
do you?
Company? How cute!
We're starting a competing delivery company.
Welcome to the world of business.
Who's Who's going to use a delivery service with a kicked sign? Nobody, that's who.
This is how business works. And pretty accurate, actually. If because VHS kicked the hell out of Beta's box, and no one bought the Beta box, even though it was a superior product. So they launch their own business of delivering papers, and I enjoy the technology that they have to deliver these papers. You see them getting into the spaceship.
3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
Blast off!
See you at Din Din.
Still just a paper route with a space bike.
I like how, yeah, they have just their, space grade helmets on, and then just literally a foot powered anti-gravity engine to get them out of the atmosphere. It's the most low budget thing. It's actually so low budget. I believe it only costs them $0.25. They get it out of a comic book.
Yes, you do have the delivery. They sent away from the back of a comic book instead of X-ray specs. They got everything they needed to make this delivery business.
Man, the ad said to allow 4 to 6 seconds for delivery.
More like 7.
For anyone that's young in the audience, which is probably nobody, back in the day, you had to wait 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. So, these kids are spoiled. They can't even wait a whole 6 seconds.
Oh, I think to that with just the streaming of oh my God, fast forward, not a thing anymore since even the DVD era when you could just skip to the next scene. You could fast forward if you want, but we've got the skip right here, right now, and all at your fingertips. So they are very successful in this venture. You see them getting more and more subscribers, so much so that they're now the lead story on a slow news day. That's a fun gag. All right. Look, we know this shouldn't be front page news, but
there's nothing else going on.
It is today,
and they get to deliver their own paper, so that's pretty cool.
But their dads are still just jealous. This clip starts off with them with a big pile of money, a big wheelbarrow full of money. They're actually more profitable than the Planet Express at this point. But the jealousy of the Professor and Hermes, they still can't give them their kudos.
Our dads are never impressed, no matter what we do.
Maybe we should start a fire.
I love that line. Go back to what a 12-year-old would do. How can I get them to pay attention to me? Fire.
Absolutely. And to lead into what else a 12-year-old does, because Cubert, despite being a genius and a clone of the Professor and, has this great intellect, he is still just, an idiot 12-year-old. So after Dwight and Cubert put together their plan, they buy the company from them, and then they end up repainting the spaceship. And this is the most 12-year-old logic.
The Awesome Express getting a makeover from the Planet Express.
Hey, Lila, help me apply these flame decals I got in my cereal. They'll make the ship go faster.
And what's your scientific basis for thinking that?
I'm 12.
And it is a loophole. They really wanted to get back at their dads and show them that they could compete. So here is the loophole that they found to be the legal owners of the Planet Express.
Sweet guinea pig a Winnie pig! They've taken over our company!
Balderdash! I never agreed to that!
No, but you did declare yourself dead 3 years ago as a tax dodge.
Tax dodge nothing! You take one nap in a ditch at the park, and they start declaring you this and that.
I think he was probably drunk and doesn't want to admit it.
And he was on the near Death Star. I believe that counts as basically dead. You're hooked up to you're a battery. You don't legally have things anymore. But he went that extra step to be legally dead. And Cubert and Dwight get a bit over their heads. They are very full of piss and vinegar, and they take on more than they can handle.
Dad, we screwed up.
You did? Tough luck, suckers!
Please, help us, Pops! We agreed to deliver way more papers than we could handle.
But we couldn't handle them, so we started dumping the extras in a crater on the moon.
And now everybody's yelling at us about their missing papers.
And we don't know what to do.
Why did you boys do all this?
We just wanted you to be proud of us.
Proud of you? You ruined us with sleazy business practices and a complete disregard for human decency. Of course we're proud of you.
Damn right we are. Now come on, let's go do a little father-son weaseling out of this. Oh, see here, we assured our sons that you'd accept their apology.
Oh, tell you what. I'll accept their apology when they kiss my ass, which I don't have.
No one gives my boy that option.
Bring it on, Jello Pop.
Yeah, get him down.
And then after that, the big slime monster just eats Hermes and Farnsworth, and that pretty much just immediately ends the fight.
They end up in the hospital, and I have the ending of the episode where they end up making up. The big slime monster comes off. They think to finish the job, but I need to show the kids that we use words, we get along. This is how we solve our problems. And they have a Bender beer together, wrapping the B plot into the A plot here.
This is what makes life worth clinging to. 3 fathers enjoying a day out with their sons.
Man or blob, it's what's inside that counts.
And then there's a nice visual gag of Cubert and Dwight inside of the bully Brett, who does make a reappearance later on.
It's every time that Cubert appears, they think of bringing the blob monster back. And I'm not sure if how involved Matt Groening currently is. I do know when Futurama initially launched, Matt Groening put so much time and effort into Futurama. He took his attention off The Simpsons in 1999. And there are so many different producers, executive producers. David Merkin. I love the David Merkin years. There was something very nihilistic about the Simpsons years of David Merkin. And he was definitely very much involved in the first seasons. I'm not sure how involved Matt Groening still is, because he's getting up there. But that's right. He does have Enchanted as well. He's very involved with Disenchanted, rather, on Netflix. And I do believe that they kind of are taking a nod and saying that this happens before Futurama, but after the modern day in Disenchantment, during one of the times, but before when the city's built up and then
they are in the same universe.
Again. I think they've made a few nods to the fact that Disenchanted is in the same universe, taking place before Futurama, but after modern day.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I've seen a few Disenchanted. I think I'm 2 seasons behind. Did they finish that one up? Do you know?
I think it got canceled. So yes, I think it's finished.
But there is no show that has the canceling superpowers that Futurama has of coming back time and again.
Yep, 3 whole reboots, 3 whole networks. So it's pretty impressive, honestly.
And
which we touched on our last episode. It was like a self-meta joke of them, rebirthing themselves and making fun of All My Circuits, which the next episode is heavily about. The next episode.
All My Circuits, heavily featured. Once again, like we talked about last week. I love that they keep going back to this soap opera of All My Circuits. The stand-in. It's not even a stand-in for All My Children. It's just super popular with the robot population.
It's just a overall, it's just a critique of soap operas. It's just a big joke of daytime television in general.
And knowing the way that those are filmed, it's like a shoot and go. They have to pump these the fuck out. So anybody who has a great performance, they had to get that in like 1 or 2 takes. And Calculon, he does not do 2 takes. I didn't pull that one of Calculon not doing 2 takes. But this one kicks off with Cubert's birthday. They decide that they will celebrate the day that the professor scraped the DNA for Cubert off his back. Happy scraping day. And Hermes, the eternal bureaucrat, figures out how to celebrate this birthday.
If only there were a way to have one party for both of you here at the office, then write it off as a business expense. Wait, I thought of a way. The way I just said.
Yeah! Way to go, Pops!
And write it off as a business expense. Brilliant. Which Dwight does take after him, even though Dwight doesn't really like to admit he does. Dwight is just exactly like Hermes.
My manwich, a funny line. It's probably the read that Phil Lamar gave My Manwich that made them decide, oh, this is sticking around. We're going to bring back My Manwich over and over again. I think it might have first came up in the Deep South episode. Maybe it was earlier, but that's the one I really remember him just very happy with. And then a fish takes it, My Manwich.
Yeah, and he's all upset underwater. So yeah, this next episode, it primarily involves Cubert and Dwight watching TV and kind of taking inspiration from what they watch off of TV, which is very what 12-year-olds would do. They see stuff on TV and they think it's cool and they want to emulate it.
I want to be just like Beavis and Butthead. Well, not anymore. Only us adults like Beavis and Butthead. But when we were kids, we loved them too.
Oh, it's awesome. When I grow up, I'm going to have so much amnesia.
Me too. I mean, I have it now, but I forgot.
Well, mine's louder. Cool. I'm going to have a fabulous birthday party just like Calculine.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm going to show up looking good, just like Monique.
Do you two have to imitate everything you see on TV?
We're 12, so yes.
Hold up, Cubert. You're a clone of the professor. Do clones even have birthdays?
Duh.
Oh, don't feel bad. We can celebrate the day I extracted you from the cloning tank, or the day I scraped your DNA from that growth on my back.
Oh, that one.
Ah, yes. It was 13 years ago next week.
So
I
happy
use very
scraping day.
So they try to throw a party and they invite, well, they don't exactly say how many people they invite, but they get upset because nobody shows up. But finally, the doorbell rings. So they think they're showing up as a group.
Yeah, they definitely put out a lot of invitations.
Welcome, swingers. Pull up a groove and get fabulous.
Huh? Good day, fellows. Someone dumped this invitation in my begging cup. Happy growth scraping day to all.
Tinny Tim coming in, and there is an open casting call. There is a robot child actor who is broken. They throw up the child is broken sign. And Bender has quite a great idea that he wants Tinny Tim to know about.
An open casting call for child robots? Tinny Tim, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
What's that, sir?
That I, Bender, am perfect for the role.
You raised my hopes and dashed them quite expertly, sir. Bravo!
So after this, they go to the casting call, or Bender does, to go apply to be Calculine's new son because he broke in the show. And during it, there's a couple of little just jokes, and one of the big ones is there is a Macaulay Culkin bot or something like that.
And we get a little gag from that right here.
Flailing up there.
Oh!
Unfortunately, he got puberty installed, and that messed his complexion all up.
And he's not been as cute ever since then. And Bender is in the other room, meanwhile, just yelling "boo" at everyone. So even though some of these
falls for it,
even though some of these people are, doing well, Calculine's like, yeah, I liked that guy, but the audience hates him. And the co-producer's like, what? Okay.
What audience?
I don't care.
There's an audience. Don't you hear them? And here's how Bender gets the part.
I don't care how popular you are. You will never work on my show.
Yay, Bender!
We demand Bender!
However, you've got the job. Welcome aboard, son.
Father-o!
And there, Bender Bending Rodriguez did a terrible Spanish accent and does not know papa, so he just throws an O on father.
Yeah, Bender is not a good actor, but as we learned in the last episode of this show, he is a good writer. Bender is great.
Bender is great. And he is absolutely great. I pulled the clip of Bender's debut. He's supposed to be in a coma, and it's an irreversible coma, but Bender has some other plan.
Curse the tragic wildebeest accident that...
Hey, everyone! Antonio here, but you can call me Bender. I got ants in my butt, and I needs to strut. Come on, baby. Do that, do. Do that, do, boom, boom. Come on. Do, bop, boo.
I'm not familiar with the type of thing I'm seeing.
Like my shiny metal ass. Ooh, yeah. Come on, baby. Ooh, come on, yeah. Cut!
Finally calling cut, but Calculon is such a great actor. He does not do second takes. So this is what goes out to the world.
So, yep, now Bender is officially his uncomatized son, who is now going by Bender, and is causing absolute mayhem on the show, which is kind of the plot of Cubert taking after everything he sees on the show, and now that Bender's on there, he starts taking after Bender.
And it is around this point in which the A plot of Cubert turns into the B plot because Bender is great, and he just steals the A plot right away from him.
Yo, check out what I jacked from my dad.
A cigar? Ripping! Hey, Dad, bite my shiny metal ass.
What? Such an act would be most uncomfortable for both of us.
I love the continued gag of Farnsworth just falling for what Cubert says, just like deadpan, even though he's just in the last episode, he says, "Good news, everyone. I'm a horse's ass." And he's like, "What? That's not good news at all."
Yeah, completely just confused him with the fact that he must have said that, despite the fact that he introduced this invention. He's already forgot about that invention, very much like he forgot about his son, and tries to abandon his son in half the episodes that his son is featured in. So I have a few more antics that they just let Bender do whatever he wanted. The studio heads came in and said, "Hey, people are paying more attention. They're buying more stuff. Feature Bender more." So Bender threw everything against the wall.
Woo! And try this, kids at home.
I tried this, kids at home.
So
Bender just takes over the show, and despite the fact that it's doing really well and everyone on the show hates him, the network executives just keep him on because it's performing so well, and it just gets worse and worse.
Dads are all pumped up on door.
And here he is. They're now hatching a plan to be like Bender. They saw what Bender does on television. So how can we be like Bender?
Testosterone. We're just trying to be cool, like Bender.
Yeah, and it's not even working. Smoking and drinking make us barf.
Gentle jerkwads, I know how to emulate Bender without barfing. We could commit a burglary.
Hey, yeah!
Bender loves to burgle.
You're watching Futurama, the show that does not advocate the cool crime of robbery.
I love that they just put a network style PSA in there, like at the end of the episode. Normally that'd be at the end of the episode where the character would come to the screen and do like a one-on-one talking head thing and be like, "So we had fun today, but let's talk real for a moment." But instead they just do like a quick, just in the middle of it, "You're watching Futurama. Robbery's cool, but don't do it."
And we get a load of them doing the robbery here. Fry is not hard to trick. Bender's roommate, of course, is Fry in the Robot Arms apartment. And the boys don't put together a great plan, but luckily, Fry is Fry.
But look at his multitasking skills here. He is simultaneously drinking a beer, reading a comic book, and he is one-handed doing whatever this video game is.
Hey, Bender. Hey, Bender. Hey, Bender. Hey, Bender.
4 Benders, which isn't out of the ordinary in this universe for there somehow to be 4 Benders. Maybe one of them is Flexo.
Exactly, which is just another bending unit, but he just has a little metal magnet right here to make himself have a goatee. He's
So
a
we-
reoccurring character.
I think he's featured twice, Flexo, and yeah, once again the Star Trek rules of throw a goatee on him, and that's the evil one. But twist, the evil one was Bender. Of course, the evil one was Bender in the
Right.
Flexo episode. It
Mhm.
was Flexo who was the good one after all, but he's our Bender. We're not throwing him up in the attic. And they do get caught for their cool crime of stealing.
Our boys have taken up stealing, one of the worst and coolest of crimes.
And all from watching you on TV, you cool jerk.
Hey, lay off me. TV would stink if everyone on it was a positive role model. Bender is about entertainment, baby. You can't hold me responsible for what kids do when, hey, this is my stuff they stole. That's the last straw. Bender should not be allowed on television.
Immediate 180. He's like, "What, you stole from me? I hate that."
And now this is a crusade that Bender goes on to get himself off television. We end up with a Mexican standoff with the professor holding a gun to Bender, with the professor and both the network executives do the show. Don't do the show. So Bender tries to have a special moment when he's talking to parents. Why didn't you do that? I'm learning the little foibles of my pewter as I'm sharing clips. So here's Bender's special speech as he is trying to get out of the show, doing a crusade against himself.
Well, it's all
you
being
ever
recorded.
tried
This is
simply-
being actually recorded, and it's going to be broadcasted on the show as Bender in character right now.
And they just let anything fly here on All My Circuits. The actors really have full reign. They have got everyone by the balls of like, this is what we're doing. And the network executives absolutely adore Bender. So this is what we're doing.
Have you ever tried simply turning off the TV, sitting down with your children, and hitting them?
We're just so busy.
Well, make time.
Make time to hit your kids, and they won't steal stuff. The coolest of all crimes.
Hey, this is happening in 3003. It's cool to hit your kids again.
It comes around. Everything goes in waves.
Exactly.
Another generation, it'll be out of style. Another generation or two, it'll be back in style.
So after this, the episode kind of wraps up neatly. Bender is removed from the show because he decides to no longer be on the show, and now the writers are going to have to figure out how to write it off. But it's Futurama, so the next episode, everything kind of soft resets and everything keeps going. So it doesn't really matter. There's no consequences.
There's only consequences when they decide to be, and that's completely okay. They have the proper tone and for it to be okay with us fans when they do and when they don't solve all their problems like that. So yeah, it's just no more Bender on TV. He solved his problems. The executives were okay with his speech, and just forget about it. We're going to robot hell this week. We can't be in All My Circuits again.
Exactly.
Calculon hasn't died yet.
So we move on to the next episode now, where it opens up with, Cubert being Cubert.
Oh, Josh Weinstein, Oakley and Weinstein. They were another pair of great producers from the years of The Simpsons. Weinstein grew up in Washington, D.C. Bill Oakley grew up just one town over from me in an even smaller backwoods town. So that's fun. But Cubert is still being Cubert, and people are still just tolerating them. They don't like them still here in, I believe this was like the 9th season.
I like that this is a nice visual gag. Everyone else is ducking, but Hermes is doing his classic limboing, trying to get underneath Cubert here.
I missed that gag. Yeah, that is a real quick gag that the animators threw in there. Of course, we need to get him to limbo. He wouldn't duck.
Cubert, you crap scallion.
And then he ducks in the next scene, but at first he limboed. I thought that was clever.
A bunch of smiling, angry people were handing out these anti-evolution flyers.
So it leads into the A plot of the episode, where Farnsworth goes on a crusade to try to prove that evolution is a science-backed, proven theory, where there is no room for arguments. However, he gets into an argument with another professor about whether or not evolution is true.
Dr. Banjo, the orangutan, is his major antagonist for this. Dr. Banjo is not an evolutionist.
please.
He is a creationist.
A far more logical explanation is the undisprovable science of creaturism. All life was created in its present form 7,000 years ago by a fantastical creature from outer space.
So they go on a mission to find this missing link. Like Dr. Banjo and Dr. Farnsworth go back and forth. I didn't click that one. I don't know why my computer is doing that. I've got some audio coming up when it shouldn't be. So they go on a mission to find the missing link after a back and forth. What about this? What about this? And there's like 40 dozens of missing links. He's like, yes, we found Piltdown Man. Yes, we found that
this
man.
one. We found the yep. So
There's
finally
still
there's one
missing.
So Farnsworth goes on an expedition, like you said.
And you have a clip. Hermes did not find the missing link, but he did find something interesting.
And here's something. Oh, it's another one of Fry's dogs.
You find something, Hermes?
No.
This makes you wonder if that was one of Fry's dogs, or if that's just how many dogs throughout the world have been. And if that's the case, then they probably could have restored that dog too, using that same technology that Farnsworth uses.
And we have Cubert not joining. Once again, like we saw earlier, just going to abandon Cubert for a month. And here he is on the planet. I say "and" a lot. I've got to work on that. I'm aware of that, people. I'll work on my "ands."
Farnsworth gets fed up because Banjo opens an exhibit saying that humans and dinosaurs were living at the same time. So Farnsworth is like, I don't want to live on this planet anymore. So he takes him and his crew to drop him off on a abandoned space rock, and this is where he's going to live.
But he has brought aboard some nano robots.
It's not that
to
bad.
help him.
It's just laden with toxic minerals, but not for long. What's in the tube? Microscopic nanobots. They're tiny robots I designed to eat up nasty irritants.
Speaking of nasty irritants, what's going to become of Cubert?
Who? Oh, my son. Don't worry. He's been safely abandoned with his godfather.
Cubert, I felt we needed some father-son bonding time, so I found a couple of baseball gloves and boiled them up for lunch.
Zoidberg very into being the father of Cubert, much more than Professor Farnsworth ever was. And Cubert, he's not having it. He's very belligerent.
I feel like it's a combination of A, Zoidberg is coming off like a weirdo here, and B, he's been indoctrinated by everyone in the office for the last year of his only year of his life, that Zoidberg sucks. So immediately he's like, oh, this guy.
And Zoidberg really does try. Here is a mural that he painted on the wall of Father Man and Son Boy. He put his heart into it, but Cubert, not a fan.
This is sucky. You suck. Who taught you to do 3-point perspective? I can make a better mural with my butt.
Father Man away.
And as he walks away, Cubert realizes, oh, maybe I was hard on him. He's just trying to be nice. So Cubert, feeling bad, he goes and seeks out Zoidberg to kind of apologize for being a jerk.
Dr. Zoidberg, I'm sorry for treating you like a total Zoidberg. I mean, loser. It's just...
Have you seen Kingpin, Annie?
Kingpin? No.
Yes, that's a joke Kingpin did as well. Of, I hope I don't get Munsoned out in the middle of nowhere. I don't want to be a real Zoidberg. It's actually now a word that you're such a fuck up.
That's funny. It's synonymous with being a fuck up with Zoidberg. And I think that it leans into my previous point of him being just indoctrinated. He just hears people calling, failures Zoidbergs as like a dig at Zoidberg. So it just literally slipped out of his mouth because it's so common around the area.
And this is how we can also score points with everyone. No one likes Cubert around the office, but If
Everyone
he dunks
likes.
on Zoidberg,
Yeah,
they'll like him for a little bit until he does something else to piss him off. Which it's Cubert. He's going to piss you off. The professor who has many doomsday devices just lying around as a child. Yeah, he's a troubled child.
Just that I get bullied a lot. I guess I kind of make fun of people as a defense mechanism.
Hey, Cubert, is that your family mansion?
Why don't you ask your mom? She's coming over for a sex visit.
Don't worry.
Boom.
I know how to handle bullies. Just pretend like you're pathetic. Help, I'm scared. I wet myself. I'm crying like a baby and I'm soaking in pee. But what else is new?
I'm off to pottery class, dorkwads.
And that's that.
Whoa, you're like some kind of dumpster Jedi.
So now immediately Cubert just turns around because he's like, whoa, you just prevented us from getting our asses kicked. That was pretty cool. I didn't know you could do stuff like that.
I never thought of being as pathetic as possible to stop the beatings. It works. I'm going to put this into action. And meanwhile, over on the planet, the nanobots evolve. And they evolve really quickly. So in no time, they become dinosaurs. Actually, that's a fun clip. I almost missed that one of yours. You have...
It's called Triple Robot Threat.
Triple Robot Threat. I'm getting to it, folks. And I've got it there. I will do a better job in the coming
So to
week.
set up this clip, like Dylan said, the robots start advancing really fast. The nanobots become trilobots, and then overnight they become like cave robots, and there's plants everywhere, and there's even now like hostile robot dinosaurs. So Fry gets bitten by one. One of the, it's like a. I can't plesiosaurus. It's one of the aqua dinosaurs. So he gets bit by the dinosaur, and Leela, hits the dinosaur to let Fry go.
There with all trees and everything are also made of metal. This entire world has evolved from little metal nanobots into a metal ecosystem.
Oh, big tough water guy. Why don't you come up here on land?
Look out for the next thing!
And then a triceratops on like monster truck wheels comes out of the bushes and hits the T-Rex, and then the T-Rex, the triceratops monster truck, and the water dinosaur are all fighting. And then while that happens, a flying dinosaur comes down and grabs Fry because he's just getting messed up by all of these different dinosaurs. And as he's flying away, this is a really cool way to die.
I love that they have wheels. The ones that have speed have wheels that they have evolved. But eventually they evolve into a humanoid society. And now the professor is on trial because he's informing them, you guys were nanobots just a couple of days ago. And actually there's a scene that that mimics what happened to the professor earlier, where there is a robot scientist who no longer wants to live on this planet anymore. Obviously a robot professor looking exactly like him, switching places, where now Professor Farnsworth
is Banjo.
He is the creationist on this world, but it's creationism through science.
He speaks lies. The Earth was created in eons, not days.
Yes, relative to you it was eons, but, well, look at this hologram I took the day before yesterday of a robot frolicking with a robo-dinosaur.
An identical picture to the one Banjo showed Farnsworth.
On this planet anymore.
So she can immediately leave since she's a robot. She just has a built-in thruster and just immediately leaves.
And I actually do have that clip of this happening earlier in the episode of the professor on the other side, not wanting to live on this planet anymore because his discovery of Homo Farnsworth, both a scientifically accurate name and really funny to keep calling him Homo Farnsworth, is, this doesn't prove evolution like Farnsworth says. This is just more evidence of creationism.
For your generous gift, which has once and for all disproven evolution. Behold, Homo Farnsworth frolicking with dinosaurs at the moment of creation.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Where literally he then, a few days later, took a picture of a robot on the back of a dinosaur, and now he is on trial for crimes against science. Bender says that he should plead insanity. Bender immediately steps up. I'll be your lawyer. I'm a robot. I talk their language. He's insane, people. Not guilty.
Objection! I'm not crazy. I created you all, and I came here in a homemade spaceship and lived in a cave. If you don't believe me, ask my uncle.
They do
Not
that
very
gag a
credible
few
sounding.
times. There's the Slurm episode. That's how they end the episode as well. When they're going to take Slurm down and expose them, but Fry is addicted to Slurm. So when the professor goes off, we need to take them down. We saw this. Oh, Grandpa's just acting crazy. Grandpa, you're my nephew. You're my uncle from 1999. So I love when they revisit that gag because it works every time for me. And the robots are in hyper evolution. So the next day, when the jury has been deliberating, there is another hyper evolution that took place.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
No, we have not. For we have evolved to a higher state of consciousness. In the grand scheme, all physical beings are but yokels. Now, settle your petty squabbles and get the hell out.
Wait, this is your squabble. You're the one that put me on trial.
But we have evolved overnight. So you solve the squabble that you are remaining with, where our lower life forms put you in so long.
So now that Farnsworth has settled, I guess, once and for all, that evolution is possible, and I guess creationism could be possible at the same time, he decides to go back home and, just pick up his life again, because now this planet is completely devoid of life because everything on it evolved, and now it's just mist.
And he wanted to be there alone, but now the nanobots, which were going to make it livable, have become a higher being than we have ever seen. Well, except for God, when Fry met God at some point. No, Bender met God. My mistake. Bender met God, and eventually God took him back to Earth.
And God makes a cameo in Bender's big score the first time that Bender uses the time code. It pans like all the way to the edge of the universe where the God cluster is. And then he hears the end of the code and goes, huh? And then spawns the time bubble and shoots it all the way to Earth. It's just a small, 2-second cameo, but he does make a reappearance.
I really enjoyed that. It makes sense that God is the one that's like, oh, someone's asking for the time code. Of course, God has it up there in space. So we end the episode with Dr. Farnsworth and Dr. Banjo getting along, and Zoidberg, he gives his thoughts on Cubert here.
Then it's settled. Finally, a world in which I'm happy to raise my son.
Good, because I'm sick of him. I'm serious. He's a terrible person.
And unfortunately for Cubert, that doesn't really ever change. He doesn't get enough time to ever arc into any more of a character than that.
Looking at these episodes, what I mentioned earlier of him being a network mandate, seeing how so many B characters they have developed. I think Robbie, the thieving robot, the stabbing robot, has more episodes than Cubert does. This seems like
I think so.
That they had to deal with. They made the best of it. So here's your kid. It's a clone, and he's a dick. We ourselves don't like him here in the writer's room, so we're not going to go to him too often. The last time, equally as much as Zoidberg B plot as it was a Cubert B plot.
Yeah, in all 4 of the episodes that we covered the Cubert plot and the main episode plot, and in every one of them, Cubert kinda gets drowned out. Even in Bender's Big Score, the first, 10 minutes are about Cubert, and then the rest of the show is about Bender being on all my circuits.
Yeah, Bender is not allowed on television is the name of it, and it seems like this is the birthday episode. It's gonna revolve around Cubert. He finally gets a second episode. Nope. He's relegated to the B plot after kicking off another story of how Bender is great.
Which, to be fair, I think is the right call. Cubert's not a good character. Cubert with Dwight, that's a nice duo, but that's the only way the character really works because he doesn't have anything going on for himself.
And they really only got to team up in that one episode, but they did have a good dynamic if they were to revisit Cubert and Dwight. That is a better idea than just Cubert alone. The dynamic of the two teens worked out well, but they don't seem to like Cubert all that much. Did we even see him at all? I don't think we even saw him at all in the new Hulu season. I think they're just...
I haven't completed it yet, but as far as I know, he's not in any of the episodes I saw. The last episode that I saw was the Explovid 19.
That's during the
Explovid 23.
Yeah, Explovid 23.
I liked that episode.
To me, it just started out so strong, the Hulu episodes. The first 3 to me are just very top quality and absolute A+ of the first 3 episodes of the Hulu's years. And then it's a bit of a dip in quality. Some of them not of that top quality that the first 3 of the new Hulu season are. And I like the finale. Another solid finale. And it wasn't designed to be a series finale. As I'm curious what the next series finale
they already
is going to be.
confirmed for the next set of episodes. I don't know when they're coming out though.
We have at least another 10. We might have another 20 after that. Looking forward. I'm looking forward to talking about Hermes next week. When I was talking about B characters to go through, you threw Hermes out there, and he's hanging around a lot. He has a lot of good lines. He doesn't have a whole lot of episodes that he's featured in as the A or big B plot. He's part of a lot of episodes with an ensemble cast as part of the A and B plot.
Absolutely. I feel like if somebody on Reddit or whatever pulled up a spreadsheet of time on screen, Hermes would be in the top 3 of the most on screen side characters. He's probably in top 3 side characters with screen time.
Once again, the voice actor helping bring him to life. There's actually a story. Phil Lamar almost didn't make it to air as Hermes Conrad, but taking him in the direction that they did. Phil Lamar, I remember very much from Mad TV, did a great job, and he does a great voiceover job with all the small roles that he has as well. Everyone on Futurama has a bunch of other roles in addition to their main role. Most of all, Billy West. Good Lord, Billy West has a lot of voices. Maurice LaMarche is another one. John DiMaggio has such a distinct voice. I can pick out any of his other characters. Even when he's doing the feminine character, it's that's John DiMaggio doing the feminine character.
He's definitely... The show would not have been the same if they didn't been able to sign him again for the Hulu reboot.
Yeah, whoever they got in that place, I've seen the new Rick and Morty a little side by side, and they sound very close.
They did. I think they did a good job.
Morty sounds dead on. Rick sounds pretty darn close. The Morty sounds just dead on of the Justin Roiland.
Maybe they'll write it that he sounds a little bit different because he's sober now.
Rick sober? Really?
I don't know. I'm just pitching. Maybe there's a reason. They can just write it off as just whatever science reason. But if they wanted to do a real serious reason for a voice actor sounding different, they could just be like, "Well, he's sober. This is what he sounds like when he's not fucking hammered completely all the time."
I heard they did that for Roiland's other show, The Solar Opposites.
I only saw the first season of that.
Yeah, someone said literally he takes some sort of potion or drinks something, and it's and
now he's a British guy.
Yeah, a very throwaway gag of now this is this person, and you can tell how much the crew did not want to work with Justin Roiland by how quickly they were like, yep, get out. You did a big public thing in which we can fire you for. Get out. All of his shows. And he has not gotten along with Dan Harmon since, I think, season 1 of Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone loves John DiMaggio and everyone else of the voice crew. I don't believe we have anyone that's also on the writing team like Roiland was.
Yeah, as far as I know, no. Before we
Bender's-
wrap up, Rochi wants to know if they replaced Bender's voice actor. And we touched on this on the last episode because we talked about the Hulu reboot. I also thought that John DiMaggio was not coming back and Bender's voice actor was going to be replaced. However, after I think 3 months of John and the company going back and forth, John DiMaggio did sign with the Hulu team to voice Bender for 20 to 40 episodes.
And I do believe John DiMaggio wanted to come back deep down, but he's such a hot commodity. He's like, I can't just
Pay me what I'm
accept
worth.
this.
Pay me what I'm worth.
I need top billing. I need a shitload of money, and I need this to be difficult so other people see that they can't just come up and get me. I need a little bit of back and forth here. Whereas, other voice actors weren't so welcome back. They brought out the dump truck full of money for John DiMaggio to come back in this one because the robot is just so important. Bender is the top 3 without Katie Seagal or Billy West or John DiMaggio. It's missing something.
Yeah.
They've got like Maurice LaMarche, as many voices as he does. Something could be done. They'd probably have to hire a half a dozen people to do Maurice LaMarche's voices, but missing any one of those top 3. And to me, I initially couldn't hear Leela without hearing Peggy Bundy, because that's what she was to me for so many years. And she's had a heck of a career, Biker's Wife over there in, what was that FX show? But she's kept busy, and glad to see her still around. I did hear one of Billy West's characters kind of sound a little old in the Hulu years. That's kind of something with The Simpsons, like Marge the most. Doing that voice is not as easy for that voice actress in her older years. Homer at times sounds a bit old, but everyone still sounds on point. Billy West, very, very slightly. There was one point I was like, Billy's starting to age a bit. Oh, poor Billy West. He got horrible hair plugs. And that's actually something we can tie back into of the Howard Stern years of him when we go down that rabbit hole at different points. Rochi has suggested quite a few things to introduce to you, maybe like in a react style, rather than a present video style that us radio nerds know all about, but only
I'm
some
down
of.
for anything.
Yeah, I think I want to mix it up after next week's Futurama episode and do something different. Doing something we don't like would be a fun variation. We've
I'm
mentioned
down.
those two. And of course, I want to introduce you to Star Trek The Next Generation as well. So a few things I would like to do. We'll get one more Futurama episode next week.
And we'll
then,
be doing Hermes, right?
Yes.
All
That's
right.
the first one you suggested. And 3 for sure. We did run long going through all 4. We might just go with the 3 Hermes, or we might choose one where he was heavily featured in the ensemble. But Annie and I had a fun show this past week on What Is This Game, talking about Valheim. She's hooked me. I'm going to lose a year of my life to Valheim. I feel the same way of when I started playing XCOM 2 in 2021. I don't know, but yeah, a year gone to XCOM 2, as I will also be losing a year to Valheim, and we will be doing Dead Space. Do we have a guest this upcoming week for Dead Space?
Yes, on the 25th, we'll be doing Dead Space 1, and we'll have guest Mondays weekly. He's a Twitch streamer and a regular voicemailer to WATP.
Looking forward to chatting with him. And this one, once again, is brand new to me. I'm a amateur gamer on mini games. There's few that I'm super expert on. Very like my knowledge in music. A lot of swaths of not knowing, some swaths of knowing fucking everything. So join us next week for another episode of Nerds Without Dates at midnight on Friday night. Join me 11:30 a.m. for co-host auditions, TikTok around the clock, Bill Loney on Chatting with Beloved Chatters, and Annie will be reading reviews on Wednesdays on Who Are These Podcasts. Anything else to plug, Annie?
No, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for everyone that stopped by to watch the show tonight.
Yes, thank you all for staying up late, especially Rochi and Radish. It is late as fuck. Actually, what is it in Australia? Radish is over in the...
It's 13 hours from now, so it's like 2 o'clock almost, 2 p.m.
Okay, actually getting to a reasonable time for the Australian folk. But thank you for joining, and you dropped us a link to the Monkey TV. We'll definitely have to look into that. So many things to check out with nerd culture coming up. But one more week with Hermes next week and Futurama. Thank you all so much for joining. Now feel free to go away.
Well, it looks like that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for going on this adventure with me. It's fun being with friends. I'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Places all join hands, circle left. Now circle right and listen to me. LS, MFT. Elementary corners like swinging on a gate. To right, dear honey, with the right and left date. Grand right and left, around you go. Lucky strike means fine tobacco. Meet your honey and give her a whirl. All swing around with the little girls. Smoke 'em, then you'll see. LS, MFT. Promenade and don't you fall. Promenade around the hall. Lucky strike is first again with tobacco men. Promenade straight down the pike. It's time right now for a lucky strike. Yes, for smoking that you're bound to like, you just can't beat a lucky strike.